Hello, you're most welcome to today's episode of the Weapons of War podcast. Again, your host, Eden Chironde. Today we are going to delve into, the Central Bank Digital Currencies, but with a different angle. I thought I should bring you how these central bank digital currencies are usually reported in the news, to bring you a news clip, how they are reported, so that we can analyze it together. Why am I doing this? So that next time you interface with any news about these central bank digital currencies, you too can be able to interpret what they are saying and perhaps also be in the know of what they are not saying. Because there is also misinformation or lies that are told by omission, that someone may not speak about something that they know. And for me, that qualifies also as a lie. So I want us to have a look at this news clip. It's short, it's about 3 minutes, and thereafter we shall cut it in 2 bits, analyzing it, seeing the gaps in there, seeing the meaning behind certain of the words, and then also looking at some of the people that were interviewed in there and what they stated and what the takeout should be, so that it can help you interpret these things when you interact with them in the various news platforms out there. So let's watch this news clip.
Most payment options in Uganda are through cash transactions or mobile money, but the Bank of Uganda has commenced studies to understand new options for holding money, like the Central Bank Digital Currency. The Central Bank Digital Currency is a cashless digital equivalent of cash for use by households or businesses.
First is to establish properly what is the rationale. Why must we have it? What issues is it going to help us resolve?
The COVID-19 pandemic is believed to have intensified the growth of digital currencies across the world. At the peak of the coronavirus infections in Uganda, many people opted for cashless transactions to avoid contact and for convenience. But advocates of central bank digital currencies argue the system will move money even faster than traditional forms of mobile money or cash to facilitate trade at a lower cost and in real time.
Maintaining a cash economy is very expensive for our central banks. That's why they are now starting to realize that digital currencies are going to help them, because cash is expensive and it's opaque. You know, a lot of laundering happens in cash because you can't trace cash. If I pay you now, BoU doesn't know the value of transactions that has happened right now. But with digital currencies, the central bank now starts to get a sense of the actual economy, the real economy, and the value that is being exchanged in the economy.
Plans are underway by the central bank to revise the financial laws to enable the adoption of a central bank digital currency. Interest and work on central bank digital currencies is global, but the drive for their likely issuance is shaped by local conditions. In Uganda, there are fears of possible risks to financial inclusion, especially in rural communities that have limited access to the internet. Regulators are hesitant to phase out cash for fear the move would adversely affect rural populations and the elderly.
Issuance has technology implications. Technology architecture will come at a cost. So we need to have an understanding of how much that is going to cost, so we need to look at the cost implications. There are risks related to possibilities of cyber attacks. That is always there.
Some traditional financial institutions like banks are also worried they may be edged out of business as central banks move to cut costs on moving money around.
And then there is the retail, where the central bank issues it directly to the customer. Now that one is of course the most efficient, but it's also the most dangerous. Because once they do that, then you don't need a banking system. Because the central bank will have, in essence, become a bank serving customers, and it will be the cheapest way. Money transfers will be free.
Regardless of the divided positions by different central banks, digital currency experts say it's only a matter of time before digital currencies become the first choice when transacting. Michael Balekes, GTN, Kampala, Uganda.
Good. So one of the first pointers, which we are going to look at, let me just cut out this clip. We are going to be having short clips, but from this major news clip that you've watched. so that we watch bit by bit till we, till we shall get to the end of it. So we are going to watch just a 14-second clip, and then we come back and analyze it for now.
Most payment options in Uganda are through cash transactions or mobile money. But the Bank of Uganda has commenced studies to understand new options for holding money, like the Central Bank Digital Currency.
So here, one of the things that you notice say that most payment options in Uganda are through cash transactions or mobile money. But the Bank of Uganda has commenced studies to understand new options for holding money, like central bank digital currencies. So herein is the first half truth, or rather, you may say a lie. He said most payment options in Uganda are cash transactions. So here, central bank digital currencies are being sold to you that they are going to be among the options. You see it? But we know from what we have already covered on this podcast that central bank digital currencies, while they may be brought in as part of the options, in the long run, they want it to be the only option. One, there's going to be war on cash, where cash will be eliminated, and perhaps online platforms, the mobile monies and mobile wallets perhaps stay in place. But then the long run is to ensure that they also collapse into the central bank digital currency. So when someone says that most payment options in Uganda are through cash, yes, they are through cash, but this central bank digital currency or CBDCs are not going to be part of the options. So that's what you have to first know. And they are going to be presented in the long run as the only option. And again, on this, you don't have to believe me. Again, you have to listen to the president of the European Bank, that's Christine Lagarde, on what she said regarding this war on cash.
You're introducing the electronic euro, as I know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how can switching to an electronic currency help?
Now we have in Europe this threshold above 1,000 euros, you cannot pay cash. If you do, you are on the grey market. You take your risk. You get caught, you are fined, or you go in jail. But you know, the digital euro is going to have a limited amount of control. There will be control. You're right. You're completely right. We are considering whether for very small amounts, you know, anything that is around 300, 400 euros, we could have a mechanism where there is zero control. But that could be dangerous. The terrorist attacks on France back 10 years ago were entirely financed by those very small anonymous credit cards that you can recharge in total anonymity.
I think you've watched for yourself when she talks about that people will be fined or imprisoned when they spend of a certain threshold of cash, okay? Perhaps 400. Again, she cites other reasons like terrorism and all that. But we know that they are going to drive out cash completely so that we are all, zoned into this one thing, the central bank digital currency. Again, we also remember our own deputy governor, that's Nwagaba Augustus, who also revealed the intentions that we should explore a digital option. Why? Because it's becoming expensive for Bank of Uganda to maintain cash. We need to look for a digital option. So already they are talking from as far as Christine Lagarde to even here, our deputy Bank of Uganda governor is also talking the same language, elimination of cash onto the digital options. Now the options may be so many at the start, digital options, but they will be collapsed into one. That's the central bank digital currency. So therein is the first lie that you have to talk about. Again, talking about the war on cash, I need to, for you to know that it's not going to be part of the options. Again, I've showed you Christine Lagarde, our BoU deputy governor, but you also need to look at this former managing director of Better Than Cash Alliance. Better Than Cash Alliance is a UN agency. This was Dr. Ruth Godwin. She was the managing director between 2012 and 2023. And she talked about, in this clip that is about to play, this was in 2019, where she talked about that there's this alliance of various governments and multinationals, various companies, And she was talking about that we have got to solve this problem of cash. So now they are looking at cash as a problem. So while this news report comes here and speaks about options, payment options, presenting central bank digital currencies as being part of the options, that's going to be part of the options. No, it's not going to be part of the options. It's going to be presented as the only option. Let me pause here again. You watch this clip by Ruth Godwin.
We have to achieve the SDGs in 10 years. I'm going to talk about that, but with a quick introduction to the Better Than Cash Alliance. We're hosted by the United Nations, and we are an alliance of governments and companies and international organizations that are each committed, each has to commit before they join the alliance to moving away from cash to some form of digital option. We've got to solve this problem. And we have to solve it because we care about achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Did you know that every single government in the world has committed to these? Every single government to agree to these. The government of Norway, the government of Australia, the government of Ethiopia, the government of Rwanda. And the timeline is 10 years from now.
So you see, she talks about, again, that problem of cash. You may ask yourself, so what's the problem with cash? The problem with cash is what they keep repeating over and over, that cash is opaque. They cannot monitor you, they cannot police you properly, and they cannot control you well when you are off-grid. That's why all these glorious things talked about central bank digital currencies, all some forms of digitization of money, are all meant to get you onto this grid, and after getting us on this grid, they centralize all that data and finally channel us into one aspect, that's a central bank digital currency, and then they control us from there without any other option. So the next time you hear a news clip, someone talking about central bank digital currencies as an option, they are not going to be presented as options in the long run. Two, again, while they are presented as at times they refer to central bank digital currencies as the digital equivalent of cash and coins. They are not digital equivalents of cash and coins. This is a control system that they are introducing, where they'll be able to determine what you buy, where you buy it, in what quantities you buy, from who you buy it, etc. etc. They even control your movements, that you can't go beyond this point. You try to go beyond that point, they switch off your central bank digital account. They say you can't buy this kind of goods, you can't buy this kind of supplies. Why? Because we are fighting ABCD. They say you spread misinformation or disinformation on your social media platforms, therefore we punish you, we freeze your account. It's going to be used as a control tool. It's not at all the digital equivalent of cash or coins. It's not. So we need to first settle some of those things. Then point two, let us look at the next clip.
The central bank digital currency is a cashless digital equivalent of cash for use by households or businesses.
Again, from that next clip, you realize that they talked about the central bank digital currency is the cashless equivalent of cash to be used by households. Again, I mentioned that this is not a digital equivalent of cash. It's not. This is a control grid that they are introducing, a control grid where they want everyone to be crowded in there so that they can monitor what you buy, what you do, police you generally, and also punish you. Of course, there will be some rewards for those who adhere to the various agendas that are going to be rolled out. Say, for example, if they say gender can be determined by anyone, gender is fluid, someone can decide today they are men, the next day they are women, and you agree to that, that could earn you some points. Again, if you say climate change is real, we need to do this, we need to do that, can earn you some points. But again, if you come out and say, no, I think I need to buy my fuel and I drive wherever I want, I need to go check on my parents or relatives wherever they are, I shouldn't be squeezed into this 15-minute city, smart city. I need to move, I need my freedom, right? That will automatically lead to you losing points. And those points, how you lose them, again, it's down to your central bank digital currency. They can limit it on the things that you can buy. So it's not a digital equivalent of cash and coins. It's not. This is a control system. They have said it themselves. Again, may not have to take my word on that. We shall have to play this clip by this economist called Aswa Prasad, who was speaking at the World Economic Forum in China earlier this year, 2025. This is what he had to say about the benefits of the central bank digital currencies.
And the one final note I will make is that if you think about the benefits of digital money, there are huge potential gains. It's not just about digital forms of physical currency. You can have programmability, units of central bank currency with expiry dates. You could have, as I argue in my book, a potentially better and some people might see it, or a darker world where the government decides that units of central bank money can be used to purchase some things, but not other things that it deems less desirable, like say ammunition or drugs or pornography or something of the sort. And that is very powerful in terms of the use of a CBDC.
Now you have to determine whether someone being able to determine for you what goods to buy and what not to buy is freedom. Now you have to tell me, is that freedom, and is that really, if someone is able to control my money and program it like that? It talks about programmability, the ability of this elite of Big Brother to program your money. That for you, you are not an essential worker. Why should your central bank digital account operate outside of your 15 minutes, city? It shouldn't. Only essential workers should be able to have national central bank digital accounts that operate nationally. And again, those super essential workers, those ones can have international central bank digital accounts. But for you, why do you need? You are non-essential. You understand? So you see that this central bank digital currency is not at all the option or the digital equivalent of cash and coins. It's not. It's a control grid that they are trying to squeeze everyone into, and then they start to monitor you, decide how many shirts you buy, determine how much you give in your place of worship, determine how often you travel. I mean, where are you going? That you want to go for holiday, for what? So that you contribute to whatever climate change by all those fumes you are going to be liable to by a flight you're taking. No, you stay at home. Stay at home and stay safe. You've heard those before. So you find that, again, that's one of the things that the news report calls it the cashless equivalent of cash and coins to be used by households. It's not a cashless equivalent. This is, again, a prison. One economist called it the digital concentration camp. Anyway. Now, and again, here we see that, again, in terms of functionality, you find that with the likes of mobile money and whatever, the mobile monies of this world are operated, by different players. But again, with the central bank digital currency, it will be operated and central operated by the BoU. And all these other financial ecosystem that you see, the mobile monies, the banks, online fintechs, and all, they will be collapsed to give way for this one system, so that we are all in that one system. We are all on that one grid. Again, for what end? For ease of control. Anyway, let's cut into this other next clip.
First is to establish properly what is the rationale. Why must we have it? What issues is it going to help us resolve?
The COVID-19 pandemic is believed to have intensified the growth of digital currencies across the world. At the peak of the coronavirus infections in Uganda, many people opted for cashless transactions to avoid contact and for convenience.
There you see the Charles Abuka, the Executive Director Operations of Bank of Uganda at that time. He talks about some important things that we need to analyze the rationale. Why must we have it? What issues is it going to solve? You get, for me, that's the thing that this is a cost-benefit analysis. He raises good points that once you need to make a cost-benefit analysis, whenever someone brings in something nice to you, you have to be like, at what cost is that something nice coming? Because someone may look at the niceness, it's nice, it's this and this and this. Does it have an embedded cost that you're not seeing? So when people sing gloriously about these central bank digital currencies, ask yourself, at what cost? Or, if I've looked at the cost, what are the benefits? What problem is it solving today for you? Not for the governments, not for what, no, for you, to you. What do you think central bank digital currencies are going to solve that is a problem today? And if you seek to solve this problem, at what cost? Because like we saw during COVID, that they said that in terms of solving the problem of COVID, they brought lockdowns, curfews, forced immunizations, etc., etc., closed down schools. But the cost of that were mental health issues, suicide, early child marriages, breakdowns in homes, etc. The economy, people lost jobs, companies closed, all that at the cost of what? Surviving this virus, a flu. So you find that whatever they are trying to do came at a huge cost, a humongous cost. So was that good? Looking down the country for almost 2 years, was that good? And the effects that followed? So for me, that's what you have to look at, that when you look at central bank digital currencies, what are they purporting they're going to bring in? What are the benefits they're saying they're going to bring in? And then, at what cost? Then you have to ask yourself, do you really need it if it's coming at that cost? And also, perhaps the other bit is that you need to also examine the spirit behind the people pushing this. From the tactics of one crisis to another hoax, to another crisis. Again, they're the same minds that are behind this. You see the same faces all through. They're the ones just that brought you COVID and talked about great reset, a future we want, build back better. Those are the same faces also now pushing this. After all the destruction that they did during that era, now they're bringing something else. And now you have to also take stock of these people and try to examine them. Who are these people? How come for them they never come up with anything that's seeming good? So judge them also. Who are the people pushing this? What are their intentions? What's the spirit behind it? Okay. So again, the reporter here talks about that the COVID-19 pandemic is believed to have intensified the growth of digital currencies across the world. At the peak of the coronavirus infection in Uganda, many people opted for cashless transactions to avoid contact and for convenience. Again, it says intensified the growth of the digital currencies, the COVID-19. That's why they called it an opportunity for them. It gave them an opportunity to try out so many things that they wanted to bring in future. Actually, not in future, they wanted to roll them out then. You know, taking up all these digital platforms, children are studying at home, people are playing, or online. They tried all that. You get what I'm saying? And then say that because of the infections and all, people, avoided contact and for convenience. Again, people avoided contact and for convenience. They are bringing now justification that in case of a future pandemic, in case of a future ailment, again, these central bank digital currencies would come in handy. Are you seeing it? So you hear all these arguments that you see when a pandemic strikes and you're locked up somewhere, you need your digital platforms. We saw it. They start to plant it at this level. You get, and then when you start to justify, you also many people just regurgitate this. You get, and then it talks about convenience. Again, convenience is one of the biggest traps of the enemy. That through so many things brought us convenience, safety, security, improving our lives. A lot of evil has been brought up, propagated under the guise of convenience, and it's not any different with the central bank digital currencies. That for convenience, all my accounts, they're just in one. I don't have to remember the password of my mobile money accounts or the pins here. No, it's all just in one place. I think that's convenient for me. I can even transact whatever. They sell you convenience, but that convenience is coming at what cost? Because you have to know that when the central bank digital currencies come through, the CBDCs come through, there'll be a destruction of our entire ecosystem in the long run. The financial ecosystem I'm talking about are the mobile monies, the banks, the fintechs, and all the other players will be collapsed, so that we are only on this one grid, the central bank digital currency. Now, does that justify its establishment? When you know that all this destruction is going to take place, how many people are going to lose jobs, how many people are going to be affected by this, and before even talk about the control, the distraction establishing CBDC is going to have on our entire financial economic system, ecosystem. Is it worth it? And let's cut into the next clip here, and then we come back and also analyze it.
Advocates of central bank digital currencies argue the system will move money even faster than traditional forms of mobile money or cash to facilitate trade at a lower cost.
Yeah, it talks about advocates of the central bank digital currencies argue that the system will move money faster. We are looking at the benefits now. It will move money faster than transnational forms of mobile money or cash to facilitate trade at a lower cost and in real time. So they are here talking about moving money faster. I mean, I think money is moving pretty well. If you need to pay for anything, now you just put in your card details, and then you've already purchased something. Then you have to, and also to facilitate trade at a lower cost. Of course, they sell the lower cost. Why? Because most of the operators in the financial digital systems are, individual corporations. Now, those corporations or private corporations, they are mainly driven by profit. Okay. And now they are telling us that since this will be a central bank digital currency managed by the central bank, in our case, Bank of Uganda, that it may not be so much profit driven. Profit may not be its core, mandate or core goal, unlike the private players. So that's why they slide in the issue of lower costs. Transactions at a lower cost. But you can't tell me faster, they're already fast enough. You'll hear that also being mooted out, international trade, faster, cheap. But for me, the biggest thing you ask yourself, that knowing the manner of control that's going to come with the central bank digital currencies, is that okay? Are those benefits worth it? Apparently cheaper, apparently faster, apparently cross-border. Are those benefits really worth the damage that's likely to come along, or not likely, that's going to come along with the central bank digital currencies, where someone decides for you what to give where? If it's your place of worship, someone decides for you how much you buy, where you buy it, how often you buy it. They want to control everything. Where they can even freeze your account, lock you out because of a bad social media post that you put up. Because you didn't agree with this agenda X, therefore you have been knocked out of your central bank digital account. Is that worth it? Handing over your freedom and your powers and authority into the hands of a hidden elite group of elite evil men and women seated somewhere beyond the confines of your country? Is that worth it? Because faster, cheap, and then we've talked about the lower costs. The lower costs, of course, stem from because they think this will be driven by central bank digital currency, central banks that are not motivated really to make profit. Let's dive into this next clip.
Maintaining a cash economy is very expensive for our central banks. That's why they are now starting to realize that digital currencies are going to help them, because cash is expensive and it's opaque. A lot of laundering happens in cash because you can't trace cash. If I pay you now, BoU doesn't know the value of transactions that has happened right now. But with digital currencies, the central bank now starts to get a sense of the actual economy, the real economy, and the value that is being exchanged in there.
Again, the next clip you've seen that expert is called Noah, the blockchain consultant. It says that maintaining a cash economy is very expensive for the central bank. That's why they are beginning to realize that digital currencies are going to help them. That running a cash economy is very expensive. And that's what, again, the deputy governor talked about, that is becoming too expensive for our Bank of Uganda to maintain cash. So we need to look for a digital option that will be cheaper. Hence, cut back on that money that we are spending. The last I checked was starting, I think, 200 billion, printing and maintaining cash. I think that was 2022, 2023. Anyway, that it was about touching, I think, 200 billion Uganda shillings. So to save that money, we need to look for a digital option. Like this gentleman mentioned here, Charles Abuka, the executive director, when we talk about cutting costs that running a cash economy is becoming expensive. And we need to look for a digital option, which again they are referring to central bank digital currencies. You have to ask yourself, who is going to be in charge of this infrastructure? And how expensive is it going to be? Because it's not going to come freely, and it's not going to be operated and established or constructed from within our confines. This is something that, again, perhaps we shall need an external player, probably the IMF or the World Bank, to give us the infrastructure, not just even handing it over to us, but also manage it. At what cost will that be? Before you look at us trying to save this apparent 200 billion Uganda shillings, what about the cost of being on that infrastructure? Because now you are on it forever. That means there's also money you pay periodically for that, for someone to run it and even manage it for you. So while we are talking about the cost of maintaining a cash economy, there will also be a cost on this side, the digital infrastructure of the CBDCs, because it will not be in our hands. That we know, if we couldn't, if we couldn't handle the platform of our express penalty system, and also we had to call in other external players to offer the system and also run it. What about the central bank digital currency, infrastructure, digital infrastructure? Do you think it will be done by us and managed by us? Of course not. So they talk about cash being opaque. Cash is expensive and it's opaque, and a lot of laundering happens in cash, money laundering. Because we can't trace cash, BoU can get to know the real economy and the value that is being exchanged in the economy. Again, here they talk about cash being opaque because these people want control. They want to police you. They're not talking about cash being opaque because they are looking for thieves. They are looking for, these people are, into money laundering. No, they're not looking for that. Those are the excuses they are giving in order to come in and have legal or jurisdiction, legal backing to monitor and police you from how you use your money, where you take it, where you use that, in what quantities, who you have given it to, whatever you're involved in. Again, someone may say, what's wrong with that? If someone is going to help catch a thief, if you suspect there's a thief, you go for the thief. Now they have a problem with cash because the moment someone receives money on their account, that one they can see they have received money, say 10 million, 20. But now the issue may come in when someone goes and picks that 10M or 20 and they start to give a relative via cash, use this over here. They have no control over that. Yet these are control freaks that we are talking about. They want to control you. That's why they want all that cash to be somewhere on the digital platform. That's why Christine Lagarde talked about penalizing people who are using cash over a given threshold. Again, you realize that she's talking about punishing people who are using their own money in cash, which they have not stolen. How weird and evil can someone be that they want to come and punish you for using your money or for choosing to use your money in cash? So now this expert here, Noah, comes in and says that money is opaque. Yes, let it stay opaque. Let people have some privacy. If you suspect someone to be a thief, go for that person. But don't put a certain policing system in place under the guise of fighting money laundering. We need to also look at the other clip and then come back and also analyze it.
Interest and work on central bank digital currencies is global, but the drive for their likely issuance is shaped by local conditions. In Uganda, there are fears of possible risks to financial inclusion, especially in rural communities that have limited access to the internet.
Good. In that other clip, they talk about interest and work on central bank digital currency is global, but the drive for their likely issuance is shaped by local conditions. The interest and work is global for the CBDCs, but the drive and their likely issuance is shaped by local conditions. In Uganda, there are possible risks to financial inclusion, especially in rural communities that have limited access to the internet. So we find that here I mentioned the right thing. The work on the central bank digital currencies is global, that's right. The drive and likely issuance is going to be determined by or shaped by local conditions. No, it won't be. Why? Because again, unless our governments have not submitted themselves to the globalists who are pushing these agendas. Because these globalists, when they push an agenda on a global scale, they expect everyone to bow down to it. We saw that during COVID. We have a case study that most of us have lived through. That those so-called standard operating procedures, the lockdowns, the shut down schools, the curfews and all, they are not individual country prepositions. They are not measures shaped by local conditions, like I said. These were driven by global entities, at least now that we know. Force jobs, force what? They are driven by global entities. They are not shaped by local conditions. And so is the central bank digital currency. It's not going to be shaped by local conditions. The local conditions will have to bow to the global drive. They have to submit to the global drive. So it's the globalists who are pushing this to every country. Unless a country or a president stands up and tells them, back off, it's not going to be here. So it has nothing to do with local conditions. This is a global move. In Uganda, there are possible risks to financial inclusion, especially in rural communities that have limited access to the internet. Again, yes, we know rural communities, they are not on the grid, they have limited access to the internet, it's even expensive, etc. But in the previous episode where I talked about how they could possibly roll it out, we talked about various ways. These people are aware of that. They are aware of the rural communities, and they also plan for them to get onto this grid. One of the ways could be perhaps we have a parish development model. I talked about that in the previous episodes. What if they say that for everyone to access the parish development model in, say, Dokolo, down in Kabale, wherever it is, that to access that parish development model, yes, it's one M per person. Now, to access it, you have to first open a central bank digital currency. Now, to open the bank digital currency, they even set up their small tents in those various localities, and they sign people on the spot onto these platforms. I don't know. They could figure out the ways. What if, as they continue to phase out cash, they're like, if you're not on this grid, you're on your own, you're not able to sell or buy. So then it's incumbent even upon you to see that you're on the grid. Again, like I mentioned, there will be carrots, and again, there will be a stick. Enforcement and then appeasement, persuasion. They'll use various tactics. So even to say rural communities, well, yes, they are aware of that and they are pushing for this. So that again, for me, I see to not deter them. Again, also when they talk about rural communities, how the central bank digital currencies may be hard to implement here, again, you see that someone is shaping the kind of discussion that should happen around central bank digital currencies. They're shaping the discussion that it should be about inclusion, it should be about, we have the digital infrastructure, it should be about this, but they are not talking about the control that is coming alongside these central bank digital currencies. They are giving us the talking points that should be the center of our discussion. While they talk about the good, they've given us, how cash is opaque, how it's going to fight, how running a cash economy is expensive, how central bank digital currencies can help fight money laundering. Those are the benefits. And then they come here, they're telling us how it will affect inclusion, especially for the rural communities, because of digital infrastructure that's not, so deep enough, and perhaps it's expensive. So they're giving us the pros and cons that we should discuss in regard to this subject. But they are not giving you the real issue, the real evil behind central bank digital currencies. It's off the table. So wherever you go, you find that people that have watched this news clip will be discussing these few things. No one will be exposed to the evil behind it, and the men and the cliques that are behind it, and their evil intentions, that actually they're the same people that have just brought us this fake pandemic, and now they're the same people that are bringing this other evil agenda. No, they won't tell you that. So they will limit your discussion to a certain, threshold, which will be shallow. Anyway, again, let's also look at this next clip, and then we discuss it.
Regulators are hesitant to phase out cash for fear the move would adversely affect rural populations and the elderly.
Issuance has technology implications. Technology architecture will come at a cost. So we need to have an understanding of how much that is going to cost, so we need to look at the cost implications. there are risks related to possibilities of cyber attacks. That is always there.
Some traditional financial institutions like banks are also worried they may be edged out of business as central banks move to cut costs on moving money around.
It talks about regulators are hesitant to phase out cash for fear that the move would adversely affect rural populations and the elderly. Regulators are hesitant. Okay. Again, like we've talked about, this has nothing to do with regulators. This is a global move driven by global entities. Again, they may not just roll it out or boom at a go, but it could be rolled out in phases, process by process. Again, it talks about issuance has technology complications. Technology, the architecture will come at a cost, and how we need to have an understanding of how much that will cost, how good. Talks about the risks associated, that's cyber attacks. Talks about traditional financing institutions like banks, and that are also worried that they may be edged out of business. Central bank, as central banks move to cut costs on moving money around. So again, for me, this is a continuation of the discussion points that they want us to have, or the parameters of discussions that they want us to have regarding central bank digital currencies, that we are discussing technology, architecture, and the costs, that we are discussing cyber attacks, that we are discussing what could happen on our financial ecosystem. Valid points for us to discuss, but they don't scratch the surface in regard to the actual intentions of the central bank digital currencies. That agenda, that evil agenda, is very nature and instance is to control you, to determine for you what you can buy, where you can buy it, how you can buy it, to police your transactions and also control your transactions according to how much you've obeyed or how well you've obeyed their agendas. If you have obeyed, you are rewarded, you can access your money. If you are again defiant, you are locked out. It's that simple. Now we saw them effecting certain of these draconian decrees and rules during the pandemic, but they had to effect those ones manually. Unleash police and the armies upon populations, which has also tiresome for them and perhaps less effective. They couldn't control everyone. Some people could sneak out into nightclubs, etc. But with the central bank digital currency, they know that one they don't have to unleash the police on you. They just have to look at your bad posts on social media, and then they freeze your account, and then they lock you out of the internet, lock you out of whatever it is. Okay, so that's what you're looking at. So again, this will be again a process by process thing. It's not something that's going to just land boom in its full weight, but we have to wake up now to ensure that we don't wake up when it's too late, when the prison gates have already been closed behind us and there's no way out. Okay. Again, you look at while they mention cyber attacks, infrastructure, whatever, they don't mention anything to do with programmability. That evil function embedded within the central bank digital currencies, that they will be able to program your money. Programming the money the way they can program your mobile money account, that whenever you withdraw, you can withdraw this or send this. All your ATM though is programmed that per withdrawal you can pick 2 million per day. Per withdraw, single withdrawal, you can perhaps pick 1 million. You understand? They are programmed. Different accounts are programmed differently. Now this central bank digital currency account will also be programmed, but programmed not beyond that level, okay, where they'll be able to determine where you can use it. Where they can now, no one can determine where you're going to use your mobile money or your ATM. No one can determine that really. They can determine the quantities you buy. They can program which goods you buy, from where you buy, etc. That's what they want to do, in control of your entire life. Okay. But they are not mentioning that evil of programmability. They are telling us about cyber attacks, technologies, architecture. They're talking about inclusion. It is varied as they could be. The greatest evil about central bank digital currencies is not talked about here. Anyway, so we go to the last clip. Let it play and then I'll come back and analyze it.
Regardless of the divided positions by different central banks, digital currency experts say it's only a matter of time before digital currencies become the first choice when transacting.
Good. Here it talks about regardless of the different positions by the various central banks, digital currency experts say it's only a matter of time before digital currencies become the first choice when transacting. So it makes this a valid point. All the ongoing debates are only a show, and to give a semblance of consultation of stakeholders, involvement, etc., people discussing how the central bank digital currencies will work. But regardless of the different positions of the various central bank digital currency experts say it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. They know, they predetermine the end. They know the end they want to get to. So all these are things are just processes to go through. Debates here, what benefits here, the things we need to look out for, the things we need to put in place. All those are just, they're just part of the process. But the end is that regardless of the different positions of the various central banks, even the various central banks don't have, in fact, have any positions. They're all supposed to come to the position of of the elite unleashing this. And also notice that it says that digital currencies will become the first choice when transacting. They're not going to become the first choice when transacting. They're going to be the only choice when transacting. That's the goal. That's the only choice you have. All the other options you have, the financial ecosystem, mobile monies, mobile wallets, bank, online, whatever, they are going to be collapsed so that you only have one choice. So central bank digital currencies will not be the first choice, they will be the only choice. Centralize all your entire monies, all accounts into one for easy control and manipulation. As we conclude this, so you realize that this generally, I just picked on this news report first to analyze it so that it can give us an idea of how to, discern and also see where omissions are made, where certain things are inserted, and what certain phrases may mean when we encounter news reports about central bank digital currencies. But by and large, many of them will flow along this line. They'll mention the benefits, low transactions, faster transactions, etc., what money laundering. They'll talk about how it's expensive to run the cash economy. On the other side, they mention the digital infrastructure, how expensive it could be, like cyber attacks. So they'll be all discussing the same things. Different experts, different channels, different platforms discussing the same thing. But the real evil about the programmability of the central bank digital currencies will not be discussed. Just like you've seen in this news report, that there are entities seated far beyond the confines of your country, far beyond Bank of Uganda, that will be running this platform and deciding what you buy, where you buy it, what quantities you buy it, how often you buy it, which jurisdictions, if it's movement, how far you can go. It is how generally you use this money. And like one economist said, then this will cease to be your money. It will be potential money. Why potential money? Because the availability of your money will not be the sole determinant of whether you can access it or not. No. What will be the determinant will be your behavior, your adherence to the various agendas that are rolled out. If you obey, you can access your account. If you disobey, then you can't access your account. That then ceases to be your money. It becomes potential money. That's it for today. And again, if you've enjoyed this episode, please let's continue the conversation and the discussion in the comment section below. And please like and also share with your friends so that we may all watch, awake, and resist these agendas that are being rolled out currently in our time. And also, this is it for today. I'm your host, Eden Chironde, on the podcast Weapons of War.